Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. NBA. Western Gunslinger, starting from scratch in the Northern Expedition traveling back to 2002, Chen Chuan and Dayao became the same draft Chinese twin stars. After being selected by the Trailblazers in the first round, Chen Chuan was caught in a shooting case and was banned for 30 matches without a fight. But as a result, the unlocking conditions were successfully completed, and the system was activated to obtain the peak Morant template. After the ban ended, the ability value doubled. When he returned to the league, half of the season had passed and the Trailblazers ranked 10th in the Western Conference. However, the era belonging to Chen Chuan has just arrived. I have no opponents in the West. The first 9, none of them can fight. Portland Trailblazers, start the Northern Expedition. After speaking wildly, Western Gun King Chen Chuan began to harvest vegetables. Mute the world and listen to the sound of bullets loading. There are templates waiting to be unlocked, such as fighting superstars, gang superstars, and politician superstars. Randolph. Ask me why I became honest. Because I don't want Chen to point a gun at my head. O'Neill. No one dares to provoke Chen Chuan, he is the worst player in history. Dayao. My nickname is Mobile Great Wall, but Chen Chuan is the Chinese totem of basketball. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Chinese Gemini. 02 World Draft Xiaonian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. New York. Madison Garden Square. At this moment, the world is focused. The 2002 NBA draft is currently underway. This draft, although it was a young year in the NBA draft, had a relatively average success rate. But there are also many well-known names in later generations. Among them, the most famous is undoubtedly the top scorer of this year, Dayao. Dayao's strength is still very strong. As for what many people outside say, the NBA made him the top scorer to open up the Chinese market. I can only say that there may also be reasons for this. However, this is definitely not the main reason. In the small greenhouse, a handsome Chinese youth wearing a suit said calmly. Hey, Chen. Look at you, you're a cheap and obedient guy. I've never heard anyone say that you only scored 10 points in the NCAA semifinals, and after successfully leading Arizona to the semifinals, you can still enter the little greenhouse. Jay Williams, a young black man sitting aside, pursed his lips and said. He believes that the so-called Chinese genius next to him is deliberately showing off the powerful domestic market behind him. Chen Chuan tugged at the corner of his mouth and calmly patted Williams on the shoulder. Jay, this world is not either black or white, understand? Sometimes, what you see may not necessarily be true. Jay Williams looked at the enigmatic Chen Chuan, but nodded resentfully and didn't speak again. His friend is not an ordinary person, with a deep background and a rebellious and sharp style of behavior. Sometimes he even feels scared. But at this moment, Chen Chuan was lost and thought he didn't originally belong to this world. The soul of this body actually comes from the world more than 20 years later. Entering this era of the early 21st century, Chen Chuan was somewhat lost at first. The legendary system and golden finger did not come with it either. Fortunately, his adaptability is very strong, and he has always been in the comfort zone in this lifetime, with a strong family background. Among the Chinese people who landed in the United States in the 1980s, Chen Nanhua, the father of Chen, was one of the best mixed people. Not only did he establish Chuanlu, the second largest shipping company on Wall Street in Manhattan, New York, but he also married An Ruosu, the daughter of An Zhao Xiong, who is known as the Chinese godfather on Wall Street. This female powerhouse, relying on the backgrounds of An Zhaixiong and Chen Nanhua, quickly became the leader of the largest news radio company in New York. It can be said that they have the power to create public opinion throughout New York. At this moment, she was sitting next to Chen Chuan with a smile on her face. Xiao Chuan, this Dayao is what you said, the Chinese friend you used to contact frequently. Enruosu is dressed in luxurious attire, but with only light makeup, she is already unparalleled in style. Chen Chuan, who inherited most of her strengths, is naturally handsome and extraordinary. Well, it's him who broke through the Chinese domestic league, and this will be his new stage. Chen Chuan said calmly. He's really great. He was elected as the top scorer, and of course, my son is also great. The order of elective courses does not represent everything. I believe you will be even better than him. However, this NBA is really good at catching the limelight. The league is indeed thriving at an incredible speed. Enruosu doesn't know much about basketball, but he knows a lot about certain aspects of the NBA. To put it simply, the NBA is also a business alliance that requires strong partnerships with capital, advertising, news, media, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's finally congratulate this young man from across the ocean. We hope he can have a bright future here. Stern finished speaking and read out the name of the next player. That's the number 1 pick, Jay Williams. That's right, it's the young black man who talked to Chen Chuan just now. Even Williams, who completed his trial with the Bulls ahead of schedule, was very excited when he heard his name. He first hugged his mother, then slapped Chen Chuan and hurriedly walked onto the stage. Although Jay was selected as the number 1 pick, there was a reason for the draft year. But this guy's strength is also very strong, at least in the college league, he is a very famous guy. During his college years, he was named the Basketball Player of the Year by the Associated Press, and ESPN magazine also named him the Player of the Year. He also won the CBS Player of the Year trophy, and the Associated Press even selected him for the best team for 2 consecutive years. In short, before entering the NBA, this guy was almost smug. Unfortunately, after coming to the NBA, he had not yet realized his talent when he encountered a car accident the following year. From then on, he immediately fell from a rising star to become a poorly paid player who was bought out. To be precise, this guy is nothing but a wave. After entering the NBA, I became obsessed with money and lost my mind. Drive a sports car, bring a young model, and confront people head-on on the road. 1 foot on the gas pedal, 1 step on it, ruining one's entire life. However, as a friend of Chen Chuan in this lifetime, he will naturally face a different fate. The third-ranked player may not have much fame as a player, but in later generations, he also achieved great success in the Warriors. This person is Mike Dunleavy. The following few players in order are all relatively unknown. In this season, several others who made a name for themselves include Prince Nene of the Orphan Testis, Rocket Lord Boozer, Little Overlord Stoudemire, Karen Butler, Diamond Scola, Heat Soul Haslam, Little Prince Prince, and so on. 8th overall pick, chosen by the Los Angeles Clippers, is Chris Wilcox, a power forward from the University of Maryland. After Stern finished reading, he smiled lightly. In the crowd, a tall player stood up excitedly. Jay Williams, who was already wearing a Chicago Bull hat, nudged Chen Chuan with his elbow and smiled. "Chen, you should be the next one, right?" The owner of the Portland Trail Blazers, Allen, had been good friends with Chen Chuan's foreign police officer in Xiong for many years. Coupled with Allen's love for explosive defenders, he had already contacted Chen Chuan before he announced his participation in the draft. Although Chen Chuan's personality factors indicate that he will be a locker room X-factor. But as far as the current environment of the Pioneer changing room is concerned, there is no fear of you being even more ruthless. Even more so, Allen hopes to have a tough guy at this time who can suppress the situation. And Chen Chuan's evil history over the years is also frightening enough. On stage, the red and white team logo of the tearing city appeared on the screen behind Stern. Ladies and gentlemen, next I will reveal the answer to the 10th overall ranking in the first round. So, what the Portland Trailblazers chose was a point guard from Arizona State University. P.S. New book set sale, quality assurance, trustworthy. The first day data is very important. Kneeling down for all data support. Chapter 2. Pioneers. Huaxia Twin Stars. Explosive Sky. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. When I heard about the University of Arizona, everyone present's gaze focused. Sitting in the middle, Dayao from the other side of the ocean also turned his gaze away. Everyone knows that Arizona State University only has one ace guard. Portland chose guard Chen Chuan from Arizona State University. Young people, please come to the stage. Stern smiled kindly. In fact, his heart is far more than just a happy expression on his face. He knocked on the door of China a few years ago with the aim of promoting the NBA to that vast land. But in recent years, the growth rate of the audience there has not been satisfactory. However, Stern firmly believes that Chinese fans will eventually become a major mainstream group in the future of the NBA. What they lack now is a national star player to become a carrier of their passion and hope. And this year will undoubtedly be the most hopeful. Because he discovered two Chinese players, both in the top 10 of the first round. And the Rockets also selected their cornerstone center with the top scorer's signature. This pair of Gemini stars will undoubtedly be full of bonds. At the same time, it will also fully mobilize the attention of Chinese fans. Come on, young man. Chen Chuan took the hat of the Portland Trailblazer and put it on his head with a smile. Of course, the alliance will tremble because of me. Upon hearing this, Stern burst into laughter. And Chen Chuan was also a bit excited, as this day had arrived. As a passionate basketball enthusiast in my past life, I naturally dreamed of one day landing in the NBA. And today, he easily achieved this goal. And it is still at the beginning of the 21st century, which has more exploratory and pioneering significance. At this point, the land of China has already begun to spread the flames of the NBA. But what really ignited them was the 2002 draft. And Dayao's election as the top scorer also successfully increased the frequency of broadcasting NBA on CCTV by many nodes. However, at this moment, Chen Chuan also realizes that he will face many challenges after entering the NBA. Just like choosing his own team, he needs to become a pioneer. Watching Chen Chuan step down from the stage, Stern also flashed some caution. Do these two young people have the strength to become the face of the NBA in Dragon Country? If they really do, Stern doesn't mind spending some time on them. After all, the current NBA requires more international players to enter the league. This plays an important role in expanding the world market. After Chen Chuan returned to his seat, he also received a call from Dayao as soon as possible. Congratulations on successfully entering the NBA. Chen Chuan responded with a smile, Dayao, you're going to become the pinnacle of the Rockets. This is a team that loves building teams with centers. You need to seize the opportunity. Ha ha ha. I'll borrow your auspicious words, brother. But I've heard that Portland Trailblazers are not that easy to stay at. The Portland Trailblazers can be said to have a great reputation, not just for their team doctors who are in stark contrast to the Suns. More importantly, the off-field culture of this team is not very good. Look at those people in the changing room, what kind of people are they? And the head coach is still a rookie, he can't control people at all. Anyway, Dayao is not very optimistic about it, but he is also difficult to make it clear. I can only wish my good friend a smooth NBA career. One day after the end of the draft, Dayao returned to the United States and arrived in New York as soon as possible. Chen Chuan naturally wants to fulfill his landlord friendship with Dayao, who has just returned. After all, New York can be said to be Chen Chuan's most familiar place, whether it is a high-end venue or an underground black area, Chen Chuan knows it like the back of his hand. Hello, sister, Mom has already gone back. She needs to go back to the Empire State Building. Please wait. Okay, I got it. Don't worry, I'm just taking my friends for a casual stroll. On the square, Chen Chuan hung up helplessly. Ever since she caused trouble in the Upper East District, her sister Chen Jia has been eyeing her. Chen Nanhua belongs to the old generation, so Chen's parents are spoiled by this precious son. But Chen Jia, who is 10 years older than Chen Chuan, played a strict role, almost equivalent to being the second mother. However, Chen Jia is not as harmless as she appears on the surface. She is the underground queen of the Lower East Side and Chinatown of Manhattan. Chen Chuan's premature, misguided, has the most direct relationship with her after taking Dayao to a high-end private restaurant for dinner. Chen Chuan greeted the accompanying bodyguards and led Dayao into the arena. Although Chen Chuan has many tricks to play on his own, Dayao, who is still very introverted when he first entered the United States, is only interested in basketball. What nightclubs or KTVs, of course they never go. Chen Chuan directly booked the stadium because the draft rules stipulate that players cannot participate in the game freely before and after the draft. Therefore, if two people want to play basketball, they just need to practice and exchange ideas. Bang! Chen Chuan, who had not yet warmed up, launched an attack directly on the basket. A gliding battle axe hack, it's foolish to show it directly to Dayao. No, it's been a while since I last saw you. You've become stronger again. Chen Chuan's physical talent is extremely explosive, and his ball player is also very good. During his college years, he could average 7.6 assists per game. You can often use powerful breakthroughs to score goals. The only drawback is that shooting is not very stable. But in this era where three-pointers were not yet as popular, Chen Chuan's attacking ability was already enough for him to defeat opponents with mediocre physical fitness. Come on, let's practice together. Chen Chuan passed the ball to Dayao and smiled. Dayao smiled wryly and said, I reckon only the two of us in the league can practice like this, one center forward and one guard. Let's just play on point one. But speaking so, Dayao's body is still very honest. He received the ball directly and made a small throw from the front, steadily scoring against Chen Chuan. Dayao has a very soft touch, and as a rookie, he has not yet gained weight and is relatively flexible. It's Chen Chuan's turn to attack, and Dayao occupies the free throw line position. The two haven't played for a long time, and Dayao doesn't know if Chen Chuan's playing style has changed now. Chen Chuan suspended under his crotch to search for rhythm, then quickly dropped the ball and broke through on the right side. Dayao, hurry up and make up for it. Chen Chuan's first explosive move was his weapon of fame in college. If you are not careful, you may be directly passed. However, this ball was just when Dayao thought he had blocked Chen Chuan's attacking route ahead of time. Chen Chuan suddenly connected with a powerful explosive ball turn, not turning outward, but inward. I just slid past Dayao. Then effortlessly soar into the air, clasping your hands. This turn is so smooth, it's okay, it's good practice. Dayao praised and then held the ball to the inside line to make a strong kill. I also used a small hook to turn around and hit steadily. Your feel is getting better and better. After a commercial exchange between the two, Chen Chuan held the ball and Dayao leaned in, extending his long arm to cover Chen Chuan. For him, this is also a training opportunity for misplaced defense. Suddenly, I know you don't have a basket. If you can pitch in, I'll eat the basketball. Faced with Dayao's trash talk, Chen Chuan smiled slightly, and then he really forcefully pulled it out. Dayao turned around and shouted, "This ball is gone." Just as the basketball smashed the frame, a figure quickly flashed past him. Then it appeared under the basket. Jump up high. Bang. Chapter 3. The Era of the Four Great Guards. See whose gun is hard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A crisp sound. Dayao under the basket once again stunned his chin. The figure that flashed past just now is this guy Chen Chuan. He completed a self-throwing and self-grabbing empty hook on his own head. This speed is really a bit terrifying. It seemed like it was just an instant, but Chen Chuan completed a series of actions from the top of the arc to the basket, and then jumped and dunked. Is this an NBA-level guard? Sure enough, the gap with the domestic market is still too big. However, the thought of being teammates and opponents with such a level of defender made Dayao even more excited. He who pursues a higher stage is pursuing more difficult competitiveness. I find it hard to imagine the level of those monsters in the NBA. Dayao sighed. Chen Chuan chuckled and said, "That's it, does Iverson know?" "Yes, it's the 76ers. Last summer, I played a 21.1-on-point-1 match with him. Can you guess the score?" Dayao pondered and said, "Iverson's speed is very fast and his direction is very agile. Compared to his breakthrough, you are still a bit behind. But your advantage is your physique, and if you really want to play solo, you won't lose too much. It's probably 21.15. Chen Chuan smiled but remained silent. "You underestimate me too much, Dayao. Let's wait and see for the new season. I won't be soft on the Rockets then." Speaking, he picked up his clothes and walked out. "Hey. You tell me exactly how many points you got." Time slowly passes. It has been a long time since the NBA Finals. The championship of the 1.02 season naturally belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is the third championship of the Lakers' OK team and also the time to establish a three-peat dynasty. The Sharks have completely become inhumane, and Kobe has also become the face level of the league. The opposing basketball team had no resistance and was swept in 4 games. A flame ignited in Chen Chuan's heart. What he wants to do now is to actually collide with them on the field. Kobe, the rising star after Jordan, has already emerged. Although the Lakers are still O'Neal's team now, Chen Chuan knows that Kobe's ambition goes beyond that. McGrady, this season's McGrady has completed evolution and entered the nominal peak period. And Iverson also overtook forcefully, completely activating him and finally capturing the scoring champion. Last season, he fought alone and was okay. In the end, he lost 1.4, which further ignited his fighting spirit. Although half-man and half-god Vincent has not yet reached the level of honor and hard power mentioned above, his explosive dunks have made him the most popular star in the entire race. This is an era belonging to the 4 major guards. This is also a crucial transitional period for the alliance's focus to shift from the inside to the outside. And Chen Chuan also wants a share of the soup. Portland. Hute Street. Chen Chuan walked out of the training center. He moved from New York to Portland a few days ago. Although the old father and mother were very reluctant, there was nothing they could do. They also strongly support Chen Chuan's decision to pursue his dreams. Today, just finished a pre-season training game organized by the team, Chen Chuan also felt some goodwill from NBA veterans. The Lakers series this time is too exaggerated. Shaquille is simply a monster. Earthlings can no longer stop him. The little flying mouse, Statermare, called out. The few people walking in front of Chen Chuan, in addition to Stoudemire, also include roaring Heavenly Lord Rasheed Wallace and Ruben Patterson. These 3 people are all tough characters. Today they added another second-grade talent, who is teaming up with Chen Chuan. After the end, Rasheed also suggested going for a drink together. "Alright Damon, that guy also has weaknesses. Did you forget that I scored 8 points on him in a row?" Rasheed pursed his lips, clearly dissatisfied with the little flying mouse's remarks. The Lakers have achieved 3 consecutive championships, which has made many teams and players in the league very unhappy. Patterson joked, "Let me think, was it 2 years ago, or 3 years ago?" Rasheed immediately punched Patterson on the back. "What's wrong, kid? Are you not willing to treat us to dinner tonight?" The little flying mouse shifted its attention to the unknown Chen Chuan and looked at his handsome face pretending to be deep, so it teased him. Chen Chuan smiled and said, "What's bothering you after having dinner? Should we finish and go to the nightclub again?" As soon as I heard about going to the nightclub, a few restless guys immediately became interested. This little brother is quite impressive, hahaha, but I heard that there have been a few new strippers in District 72 recently, they are very punctual. Ha ha ha, I'm a bit excited about what I said. The new season is about to start. Let's release it first. Let's go, Chen. I'll take you to experience the customs and traditions of Portland. Night falls. A few people walked out of the nightclub door drunk. This area belongs to the Northwest District, also known as the Pearl District. The entire street is dimly lit, and idle people gather, making Portland a place lacking in security. When Chen Chuan finished paying and walked out of the door, suddenly forced into a corner by two black people. "Hey, where are the people from Asia? They have delicate skin and tender flesh. This is not where you should come, buddy. You need to pay some protection fees, otherwise no one can guarantee that you will walk out of this street intact. At least, your end won't be complete." The bearded black man leading the way showed a silver smile. The other black man directly pointed out the dagger in his hand. In the darkness, Chen Chuan's playful gaze became cold and stern. Like a sharp knife. Although the knife was already in front of him, Chen Chuan didn't panic at all. This made the two black people feel a bit inexplicably uneasy. "Kid, what are you waiting for? Take the money. Otherwise, I'll really let you taste my gun." Chen Chuan has been smiling slightly recently. "Is that right?" Chen Chuan took out a black object from his pants pocket. "Let's see if your gun is hard or mine is hard." Bang. Chapter 4. Shooting Cases. Stern's Considerations. Exciting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day. Portland Training Center. Several players are doing pre-match sports. As the regular season approaches, the frequency of team training also begins to increase. This is also related to the team's head coach Morris Chicks. Last season, their performance was not ideal. The team owner has ordered that the team needs to undergo some reforms. Firstly, let's start with him as the coach. If he is unable to obtain grades and even lacks authority, then he will have to leave. Rashid, are you a bit familiar with this news? Wallace was drinking water when the little flying mouse walked over with a newspaper. What, last night at 2 a.m., a shooting occurred in the Northwest District, with 3 individuals involved and 2 injured. Wallace immediately lifted his head and exchanged a glance with Stoudemire. A hint of panic flashed in both of their eyes. Last night, they did hear gunshots. Even if they are drunk, they can still distinguish the location where they came out. Coincidentally, shortly after the gunshot, rookie Chen Chuan appeared from that direction. At that time, Rashid also asked what sound it was. Chen Chuan was easily fooled over. You say, that kid doesn't know. Chen Chuan was not injured. If he is the person involved in the case, then he is the one with a gun. The little flying mouse swallowed its saliva. This guy is a bit dangerous. But this is just too ridiculous. That guy looks polite and doesn't seem to have a background. In Portland, having a gun is not difficult. But as an ordinary person engaged in a legitimate industry, if you shoot on the street, the nature will be different. Impossible, don't daydream. Rashid quickly comforted himself. But that guy didn't come to training today. Didn't the coach say that he took leave? And at this moment, Office of the Alliance President David Stern also rubbed his temples helplessly. He originally intended to turn Chen Chuan and Dayao into twin stars of China, creating a wave of popularity and attracting Chinese traffic. But unexpectedly, this kind of thing happened. Chen Chuan is in trouble with the shooting case. Although it has already constituted a condition for legitimate defense, after all, shooting and injuring people. One shot hits the foot, one shot hits the bird. One of them is still lying in the emergency room. Tell me, Chris, what's your good idea? Stern threw down the newspaper and asked. The CEO's secretary beside him pondered for a moment before answering. Dayao represents the dreams and aspirations of Chinese fans, while Chen Chuan has the support of local overseas Chinese and even Asians. Both of these are what we need most now. The former can help us completely open up the Chinese market, while the latter can quickly enhance the influence of local and international personnel. And I have reason to believe that Mr. N, as the godfather of Chinese on Wall Street in New York, can definitely quickly help his grandson handle this matter. And we are currently collaborating with multiple media outlets under the New York AKC, which are also related to the Chen family. I have also understood the two individuals who took the initiative to provoke, both of whom have criminal records. Normally, it is not difficult to overturn the case through procedures. Stern nodded. Chris's words have a clear meaning. Anyway, Chen Chuan cannot be negative in the alliance. However, the league must also provide some painless punishments, otherwise it is not conducive to controlling players. The next day, NBA officials provide information. This year's draft rookie Chen Chuan was banned for 30 games due to violating NBA safety regulations by shooting with a gun. This incident instantly attracted a lot of attention. After all, this has never happened in the league. The insiders of the entire Portland Trail Blazers team were all confused. Especially Rasheed Wallace and Stoudemire. They didn't expect that Chen Chuan really fired the gun. Suddenly, a cold sweat flowed through. Fortunately, although they are a bit bad, they do not have the habit of playing tricks on rookies excessively. Otherwise, it's really hard to say, and through the operation of the Chen family, they naturally easily passed the court proceedings. After all, this matter is not inherently tricky, as long as it is defined as self-defense, it will be stable. In Portland, there is not much difference between self-defense with a gun and self-defense with a fist. At most, it can be considered as excessive defense and a loss of money. The final court ruled that, returning to the social training center, would repent for 3 days, plus 100 hours of community service, and a fine of $5,000. The matter settled quickly. However, it is still widely circulated in the alliance circle. After all, after the previous draft, the league had already advertised for the 2022 China Gemini. Even the posters have been filmed, which has sparked discussions among many international figures. And this time, Chen Chuan's future has also attracted a lot of attention. This certainly includes Chinese fans who are far across the ocean. Although there is a certain lag. But people will eventually find out that this other genius player has made a mistake. I couldn't help but worry about his future. 3 days later, Chen Chuan saw the iconic black supercar at the entrance of the training center. There is a woman wearing sunglasses sitting in the car, dressed neatly in a lady's suit. Chen Jia looked at Chen Chuan with a hint of heartache in her eyes, and then quickly switched modes. I knew you would definitely cause trouble as soon as you left home. Look at these few days, you're just doing these tricks for me. Do you still want to enter the NBA? How old are you? Can you let my parents and I save dim sum? Don't you know how worried my mother is about you? Chen Chuan impatiently dug out his ear and muttered, I know. And friends Jay Williams and Dayao also called to care. Jay and Dayao have different ideas and personalities, and their words are also different. Dayao first cared about whether Chen Chuan was okay, and then asked if he had caused any casualties. But Jay roasted that the other side didn't look at him, and he actually offended Chen Chuan. After returning to New York, Chen Chuan successfully completed 100 hours of community service. For the Chen family, whether it is 100 hours or 1,000 hours, there is no difference. It's just a random number change on the computer at the same time. A mechanical sound suddenly flashed through Chen Chuan's mind. This voice suddenly lifted his spirits. Detected host completing specific behavior, suspended superstar system has been activated. Chen Chuan hesitated for half a second, then his heart was filled with excitement. System. After waiting for so long, you can be considered to have come. P.S. The new book sets sail, kneeling down to seek all the data. Dear readers, please make sure to leave your flowers, review tickets, monthly tickets, and comments. Let the author have a bottom line in their heart and continue writing, please. The book update is absolutely awesome, and the better the performance, the more fierce. 20,000 words on the first day, and 10,000 words per day for the rest. 200 fresh flowers and 1 watch. 10 evaluation votes plus 1 update. Chapter 5. Banned Superstar Morant. The gods ascend to the throne. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Chuan was overjoyed. Although this system is a bit delayed, and the unlocking conditions are also very special. But fortunately, it's here. Even though he may have some talent, after all, the NBA never lacks talent. To go further in the NBA, relying solely on oneself is obviously not enough. Since he's here, Chen Chuan wants more. He wants to surpass everyone and become a person on the throne. System. Take a look at the specific functions. This system is a superstar system. Unlocking corresponding achievements can obtain corresponding templates and task systems. The banned superstar template has been triggered. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the peak Jammerant template. After the ban is lifted, the template exclusive attribute value doubles. Banned superstar. Morant. Chen Chuan was in a daze and then began to get excited. Morant's playing style is undoubtedly perfect for the league of this era. It can definitely ignite a wave of enthusiasm. For some reason, a familiar melody entered my mind. San Francisco. Boy, just because I shot, I gave a Gun King template directly. You should know that as a rising star in 20 years, Morant's strength is absolutely beyond doubt. Of course, his strongest is still his unparalleled waist and abdominal strength, and he is also recognized as the strongest waist king in the NBA. Once gained countless followers. However, perhaps due to his exceptional talent in this area, Morant has also caused a lot of trouble in this regard. Later, due to drifting, the live broadcast showcased the gun and was directly banned by the league. At that time, some people jokingly said that there was a fierce battle between the two heroes of 2009, Hatankuri, and Huiyong. Today, there are 19 twin males in Zion Morant, one wielding a spear and one wielding a stick. However, regardless of off-field factors, the strength of these two individuals is beyond doubt. Zion is known as the modern-day flying pig, as it has been ravaged by destruction and decay. As a young leader, Morant has a sharp breakthrough and a big heart. The most important thing is to be crazy enough. If you don't agree, you have to block the major center forwards in the league without fear. So it seems that Morant's personality and playing style are quite similar to mine. Chen Chuan pondered deeply. Open the data panel. Player information, height. 189 centimeters, arms span 202 centimeters, weight. 81 kilograms, standing and touching height. 253 centimeters, bounce in place. 93 centimeters, run up bounce. 103 centimeters, body fat percentage. 5.6% player ID, 16 basic talent strength. 80 speed. 85 ball merchant. 91 hand feel. 92 bounce. 88 outbreak. 83 will. 85 physical strength. 83 attack talent breakthrough. 85 CIC. 82 hook. 70 throwing. 83 points. 65 back hitting. 55 ultra far. 35 direction change. 81 passing. 86, defensive talent, cover. 63 snatching. 72 collaborative prevention. 67 chasing hats. 83 adhesive protection. 65 other talents, board making. 76 pull rod. 88 footstep. 70 fighting. 76 durability. 53 charm. 90 exclusive talent NBA Waist King. 80 tiger and wolf partition buckle. 80 gang leader. 80 other skills, not yet. Wow, this data panel is really convenient. It can be seen that this data panel indeed combines its own technical characteristics and Morant's ability values. An exclusive talent is what interests Chen Chuan the most. Waist King, partition buckle, gang. It really fits the characteristics of Morant. It's not unreasonable to say that Heat is like an army, Grizzlies are like gangs. Morant's grizzly bear, perhaps due to the abundance of young people, naturally has a kind of banditry. Next, take a look at the exclusive task panel. Gun King Mission Panel, Main Task. Achieve Season's First Victory Reward. 3-point Divine Shot, D, Main Task. Complete 10 Victories Reward. God Throw, D, Main Task. Not updated yet Side Mission. Shake Down Iverson Reward. 30 Attribute Points Regional Task. Buckle O'Neal Reward. 50 Attribute Points Regional Task. Not updated yet, attribute points can be used to improve skill levels. D.C.B.S. Special Tasks. Complete Celebration Actions, Drawing a Gun, Celebration Actions, Blowing a Gun, and Celebration Actions, Shooting, Reward. Any 2 attack talent attributes plus 10 special task. Not updated yet, these 3-minute divine shots and divine throws feel so fierce. Obviously, 3-pointers and throwing are definitely the most suitable attacking methods for this body. And it can also help him adapt to the trend of future NBA triad. After all, the only thing he's missing now is the basket. The main task is not too demanding, but this side task is indeed a bit interesting. Chen Chuan smiled wryly and said, "Shake down Iverson and knock off O'Neal. This is simply an extremely difficult existence. After all, Iverson is best at shaking others down, while O'Neal is best at dunking others. Isn't this challenging someone else's job?" However, for that attribute point, Chen Chuan definitely needs to give it a try. After all, he was originally known for his boundless and reckless personality, and he was also famous in the NCAA. Various cheating opponents were not suitable for him, and it was also a common occurrence. This era is the best. The 4 major centers have fallen one after another. The 4 center forwards of the 1990s, except for O'Neal, have all reached their peak and are no longer even retiring in despair. The 4 major guards compete for beauty. Kobe has just won 3 consecutive championships and is about to enter the craziest 0-2 subject mode. Iverson has monopolized the scoring king for nearly 3 years, showing his killer nature. McGrady has reached the pinnacle of his career and taken over the Magic's attacking banner. Carter's physical talent is getting more and more explosive, dunking like a demigod. The 4 forwards have reached their peak. Webber becomes the absolute core of the king, igniting a Princeton frenzy. Garnett's coronation of the Wolf King further reveals his tough nature. Duncan just received the MVP and is heading towards the double crown. Rasheed Wallace steps into the pinnacle of attack and defense, versatile and sharp. In addition, there are also prodigies like Jordan who have made a comeback, the driver of one of the emerging future 4 forwards, the league's future dual-star point guards Nash and Kidd, and so on. It can be foreseen that the new season's league will bring about a bloody storm. That's great, it gives me more confidence. There are too many opportunities and challenges during this period when the old gods of the alliance have fallen and the new king has ascended to the throne. Chen Chuan looked into the distance and then touched Glock in his pocket. On the day the ban is lifted, Shuangqiang will tell you the answer. NBA, are you ready to tremble? Chapter 6. The new season begins. The external ridicule and ridicule. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As time goes by. It has been some time since the start of the new NBA season. During this period, Chen Chuan was naturally unable to participate in the competition due to being banned. But he wasn't idle either, constantly adapting to new physical talents. We are also paying attention to the size of the stadium for the new season. The Trail Blazers have played 5 games so far. Unfortunately, they all lost by at least 8 points or more among them. The most tragic one is undoubtedly the team's star player, Rasheed Wallace. I suffered an ankle sprain in the first game and am expected to be absent for 2 months. And with Rasheed's absence, the Trail Blazers were also without a leader in the following 4 games, losing all of them. Today's game is the 6th game of the Trail Blazers season. Their opponent is the powerful defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. Although Chen Chuan did not have the qualification to enter the venue, he still watched the game at home. He hasn't fully figured out the background and details of the Trail Blazers team yet. At the end of the halftime, the Los Angeles Lakers visited Rose Garden, holding a 17-point lead and entering the second half. ESPN broadcast room. Renowned commentator Bill Simmons looked at the data bar and said, Shaquille O'Neal continues to be absent in this game, but Kobe still has an inexplicable offensive performance. He made 6 out of 10 shots in the first half, scoring 18 points and providing 3 assists. The Lakers' entire team seems to be playing more reasonably, even if they lack FMVP's Shaquille. The Trail Blazers are more like scattered sand, and the chemical reactions that were finally established at the end of last season seem to have faded with the start of the new season. The data expert Hollinger next to him nodded. Advanced data indicates that Kobe's first 6 games of this season have entered his career best state with a small sample. I believe he has completed evolution. In fact, the viewpoint of this integrated data analysis expert is not wrong. Kobe Bryant in the 2002.03 season did indeed achieve the perfect combination of physical fitness and technical skills. This season, his average playing time per game has reached a terrifying 43 minutes. Adequate physical fitness and lightning-fast speed, as well as increasingly proficient mid-range skills and a 3-point hard training. It all marks a fact that the first peak of Kobe's career has arrived. The Trail Blazers have a certain chance in this game. But I still want to say that this season, they may be disappointing again. Bill Simmons sighed in his breath. Pippen has aged another year, Rasheed Wallace has also been injured and retired, and Stoudemire has been suspended for 5 matches due to a brawl in the previous match. And what the team really likes, the absence of their newly selected rookie defender Chen Chuan this summer, has left this team with a lot of scars. This team has always been disappointing, hasn't it? Said James Worthy, another special guest in the broadcast room and a Lakers legend named Cobra. The stadium spirit they displayed was completely negative, with players fighting independently, like a gang struggle. As for the new guard who has been highly anticipated by the Portland management, he has Asian ancestry flowing through his body, and I can't help but doubt whether he can adapt to the NBA's confrontation. The funniest thing is that this guy was banned for 30 games without even having the chance to experience it in advance, which is unprecedented. James Worthy's remarks have always been sarcastic, and this time he seized the opportunity but didn't want to let go. In his opinion, what the Trail Blazers need most now is an organizational guard with a super strong brain. Or it could be the stadium boss who can hold everyone down. Pippen is obviously not capable of playing this role, as this guy has been stagnant since leaving the Bulls. People are now waiting to see the Trail Blazers' jokes. It has been revealed that the reason they chose that Chinese player is simply because the team owner knows that guy's parents. Forgive me for being blunt, the lack of achievements by pioneers over the years is closely related to this aspect. They can even consider putting it down and fighting for the next generation's chosen son. At TNT, Barkley, who has a big mouth, also speaks without hesitation. Because he dared to say anything and was not afraid of offending others, he quickly became a popular commentator at TNT. What level do you think Chen is? Asked Kenny Smith on the side. I think he's just a second-round draft, a player on the edge of the bench." The flying pig shrugged its shoulders. Smith said in a deep voice, "I have read his profile, and although the data in college is good, he has not led the team to achieve any substantial results. His height, arm span, and various dynamic talents are not particularly outstanding. Perhaps the only advantage is that this guy's playing style is very attractive. Some people say his template is Vincent." Barkley immediately laughed and said, "Don't tease me, buddy. His draft template is Vincent, so my draft template can all be Chamberlain. This guy is at the pinnacle of being a substitute guard for a weak team. I can predict his arrival in the NBA, where he averages 5 points and 3 assists per game." Chen Chuan was banned after the draft, and this case is truly shocking. Therefore, many people hold a negative attitude towards him, waiting to see a joke. A rookie who has experienced such a thing is even more detrimental to his foothold in the league. Not everyone can be like Duncan. Even if he delays entering the league for a year, there are still plenty of teams that can mess him up. Barkley continued, and the other big man from China who was drafted with him, he could at least become the Rockets' firefighter. However, a tall man with such a thin and weak physique and such a disadvantaged arm span is also destined to not become the climate. I can already imagine the scene of him being cruelly ravaged by centers like O'Neal. Sitting in front of the TV, Chen Chuan naturally took in all of this. However, breaking down prejudices still takes time. During this period, all he needs to do is polish his swords and rifles. Fully adapt to the body and intensity, and then showcase the influence of the competition. The final game came to an end. The Trail Blazers lost again and suffered 6 consecutive losses. Kobe's triple-double performance with 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. Even if the Shark recuperates at public expense, he can still lead the team to win. And the entire Trail Blazers team is like a deflated ball. And Chen Chuan also paid attention to the neighboring Rockets game. Dayao played for 20 minutes and scored 12 points and 5 rebounds, helping the team narrowly defeat the Heat. Compared to the awkward data from the previous few games, Dayao has started to steadily improve. In the following days, Pioneers are also constantly facing challenges. Pippen suffered a back injury and was absent, and the team center, Sabonis, also began to get lost. They suffered another 4 consecutive defeats. So far, Trail Blazers lost all their first 10 games of the season. P.S. Seeking support from Flowers. Seeking support from evaluation votes. Seeking monthly ticket support. Chapter 7. Pioneers with 6 wins and 24 losses. Gun King returns. You are listening at novelfull.audio. New January. The NBA regular season continues. The Trail Blazers finally won a game after 10 consecutive losses. Thanks to the explosive performance of the Spurs nemesis, Bunch Wells, he won a 20-point victory over the weak team Clippers. But this simply cannot stop the Trail Blazers from losing in the future. The 4 consecutive guest journeys behind can be called demons. The opponents are the Eastern Conference's #1 Pistons, the Peak Kids Nets, the veteran Jazz, and the Seattle Supersonics. If there were no accidents, there would be no accidents. The Trail Blazers lost 4 consecutive away games, and the locker room without Rasheed Wallace began to have problems. Some players are starting to be DNP by Coach Chicks, and even have factions. Chicks has clearly begun a bold reform. However, Trail Blazers players are not easy to handle. Big Black Bear Randolph, Enraged Ruben Patterson, Bunch Wells, and others are all masters who dare to argue with rookie coaches. Fortunately, without Sean Camp, we wouldn't have known what kind of chaos this Pioneer would have become. But it cannot be denied that the Portland Trail Blazers are already in jeopardy. However, the nominal leader of the team's locker room, Pai Pungpieri, said in a post-game interview, "When we organize everything, we will be a nightmare that tears the entire league apart." In fact, Pippen has started to decline this season, with repeated back injuries causing his form to fluctuate. At present, he has only averaged 9 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds per game. Pippen's inability to become the leader of the locker room and stadium is something he no longer refutes. As Jordan returns to join the Wizards and continues to showcase his talents, Pippen only hopes to spend this remaining life with the Trail Blazers. The team's head coach Chick said, "The ups and downs of the new season are normal. Please trust our adjustment ability, we will come back. Before that, it's best for other teams to win a few more games now." Obviously, Pioneers also need face, and everyone is holding back a bit of energy. After experiencing 4 consecutive losses away from home, the Trail Blazers finally rebounded and won the next game. But then there were 6 losses and 1 win. The record has reached 3 wins and 20 losses. Alliance at the bottom. General manager Bob Witz is also under a lot of pressure. The goal of the team is not to play poorly, but to enter the playoffs. But currently, this momentum is not quite right. Although there are off-field factors such as Rashid's injury and locker room conflicts within the team. But this record is really bad, and Boss Allen's patience is clearly not enough. If it weren't for the scarcity of coaching resources outside and the protection treaty of Chick's contract, Allen had long wanted to fire Chicks. After all, Portland itself is not a big market, and football stars are even rarer. Therefore, once there is a phenomenon of playing poorly and losing, it will definitely cause fan resentment, and the home ticket sales will instantly be dismal. Fortunately, in mid-January, Rasheed Wallace returned early and coincidentally caught up with 3 consecutive home games against mid to lower tier teams in the league. In Chen Chuan's last 7 games of suspension, he achieved a record of 3 wins and 4 losses, slightly stabilizing the situation. Meanwhile, other teams ranked lower in the Western Conference lost consecutively. In the end, the Trail Blazers had 6 wins and 24 losses, ranking 10th in the Western Conference. Behind them are only the Warriors Grizzlies, as well as the poorly formed Clippers Nuggets. This year, the strong teams in the Western region were terrifying, with their ability to wreak havoc reaching its peak, and there were very few times when they faced a weak team overturning. Whether it's the league's #1 Spurs of that season, the super-attacking team Mavericks created by Old Nielsen, or the Peak-OK combination that has completed 3 consecutive championships, or even the Timberwolves led by the near-MVP-level Wolf King Garnett, they are all incredibly strong. And the overall trend of strength in the West and weakness in the East this year has reached a certain degree of absurdity. At the end of the season, the Eastern Conference's #1 Nets can only rank 6th in the Western Conference. With Moaning suffering from kidney disease, the Eastern Conference no longer has the concept of a top center forward. And most of the strong teams in the West are famous for their internal defense, with 4 of the league's 4 forwards in the West, demonstrating their formidable strength. Therefore, as long as anyone can break out of the West, the Western strong team can sweep everything. The competition inevitably becomes more intense, and the top players of strong teams rarely take turns, with minor injuries not coming down to the front line. In the mid-season, every game is played as a playoff. Therefore, weak teams and poorly performing teams are almost impossible to win. The Trail Blazers have now become a truly bad team, not only reflected in their record, but also in their game temperament. In the first 30 games of the season, they have 6 wins and 24 losses. You know, before the start of the season, they were even considered a team in the second round of the playoffs. Famous NBC commentator basketball voice Albert said in front of the television. Poisonous-tongued partner Costas immediately agreed, "That's right, maybe it's all due to their misfortune before the start of the season. That's rookie Chen Chuan being banned for holding a gun. Rookie signifies the beginning, and Chen's bad luck seems to have made this Pioneer a disaster-prone team." Albert laughed heartily. He also didn't expect Costas to be able to bring up metaphysics. "You're right, buddy, after all, this is just too sensitive. 30 games have already been played, and the Trail Blazers will have 2 days off next. At that time, they will face the challenge of the Philadelphia 76ers at home. Iverson, who has lost 3 games in a row, has already said that he wants to get at least 40 points in the game against the Trail Blazers to end his losing streak. Albert. Many scout reports claim that Chen Chuan's playing style is somewhat similar to that of Iverson, so now there's something interesting to see. At least, we can enjoy Everson's performance with all his might, and by the way, see if the performance of the Trail Blazers rookies is worth a precious first-round number 9 signing. Costa immediately joked, "You're right, buddy, but whether Chen can play or not is uncertain. Maybe the team has already abandoned him." Ha ha ha. It is understood that the Portland Trail Blazers have recalled rookie player Chen Chuan, whose suspension has been lifted. He is currently actively participating in the Trail Blazers pre-match testing and training activities. The head coach and general manager of the Trail Blazers stated that the team hopes his arrival can improve some of the situation and provide some fresh perspectives for fans in this city. And team owner Paul Allen seems to have high hopes for this controversial rookie. Next, let's listen to interviews about him. NBA TV reports for you. In the camera. Chen Chuan's handsome face immediately appeared. People can see that this guy's figure seems to have become quite robust again. But after this incident, this guy's eyebrows are still full of rebellion, and his speech is not mature at all. Any setback before success is a great foundation, I always believe. When I return, we will have no opponents in the West. The 9 teams in front of us are very strong. No, they obviously don't have much chance. Not seizing the opportunity to win as much as possible before I return to the game is their loss. My goal is to play against Eastern teams in the playoffs, it's just that simple. This statement instantly caused a huge uproar. And Chen Chuan himself is very calm. That night, we had dinner with the team owner's sister Jenny Allen. And one day later, he will face the challenge of facing the Eastern Conference's first defender. The Western Gunslinger is about to return. Mute the world and listen to the sound of bullets loading. Chapter 8. First Battle of Philadelphia. Iverson's explosive popularity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This guy always likes to talk crazy. I checked his performance during the NCAA period, and talking crazy before the game has become a major characteristic of him. ESPN Bill Simmons smiled. Chen Chuan's high-profile words have caught the attention of professionals across the entire alliance. But 99% of people mainly laugh and disdain. The commentators also attach great importance to the upcoming live broadcast competition across the United States. However, in everyone's opinion, this is just because of Iverson. After all, this guy is truly the NBA's most popular king today. Hollinger said, although young people should be a little more arrogant, it's not very pleasing for this guy to be banned for 30 games without playing a game and still make such impossible statements. On the contrary, his opponent, Iverson from the Philadelphia 76ers, is undergoing a transformation in a new way. This season, Iverson's average game data has dropped, but for the first time, his PER, PIP, and EPM values are all in the top 5 of the league, surpassing McGrady's temporary number 1 PIP value. Simply put, Iverson's game influence is no longer limited to scores. Since his last NBA Finals defeat, this guy has started to evolve. Bill Simmons said, I heard that he had already announced before the game that he would defeat the Trail Blazers to end his winning streak. After hearing Chen Chuan's remarks, Iverson, who interviewed before the game, also said that he had never heard of this person at all, maybe not even on the field. Ha ha ha, isn't that right? Maybe by the time Chen Chuan appeared, Iverson had already checked in because it was already junk time. Although Chen Chuan has not yet officially landed in the NBA at this time. But the fame is not small anymore. Of course, this cannot avoid the operation of the alliance. After all, this can also be considered an investment. On the one hand, Chen Chuan's Chinese identity can attract a lot of market resources. On the other hand, the alliance needs public opinion. The league is already filled with a lot of gossip to become a post-dinner topic for fans, making the stars more flesh and blood. For example, the early Rodman Madonna became a well-known event, but Bull fans actually preferred the wild and unrestrained Bugs. An alliance without gossip or off-screen news is not even considered an alliance. Therefore, Stern is preparing to create a classic public opinion case of a prodigal son turning back. But what he's not sure about is, although Chen Chuan is a prodigal, can he really turn back? Many football stars have also responded to the league and increased the popularity of this American live broadcast. O'Neal. During my recovery period, there were always strange people appearing, which was so interesting. They must have been worried that I would be too bored. Miller. This is so interesting, isn't it? I hope to see more jerks like me appear in this alliance. Kobe. The league is already a melting pot, with all kinds of people. For me, as long as his influence on the field is positive, then he is a good player. McGrady. I don't want to discuss these, but this rookie's comments are really crazy. I hope Iverson can let him experience the cruelty of the NBA. Weber. The Trail Blazers have always been a pseudo-strong team, and the arrival of a rookie cannot help them much, but it is true that they need to create some public opinion. This team is simply a stagnant pool. Daiben. If you talk crazy, you have capital. I hope he can still survive in the bandit-like changing room in Portland before we talk. However, no matter what the outside world says or thinks. As the 76ers bus slowly drove towards the Rose Garden Arena. This day has finally arrived. Coach Chicks attached great importance to Chen Chuan and immediately summoned the stadium on his first day of lifting the ban. After conducting a series of investigations on Chen Chuan, he finally patted his shoulder and said earnestly, "You are a good seedling, young man. But I can't immediately put you on the starting lineup, it's also a form of protection for you, believe me." Chen Chuan didn't say anything about it. Facts will prove everything. A true superstar never cares where the starting point is. That evening at 7 o'clock. The Rose Garden Arena is crowded and bustling with people. Boss Allen and sister Jenny also personally attended and sat by the sidelines. At this moment, he was just like the Clippers owner Ballmer, who had a high passion for basketball. Allen and Ballmer are both co-founders of Microsoft and have a colleague-friend relationship. Therefore, many years later, you will find that certain transactions between Trailblazers and Clippers will always make you feel somewhat unbelievable. This is the use of networking. And next to him were a beautiful mother and daughter. Chen Chuan's mother and Ruosu and sister Chen Jia personally attended the battle. "Miss An, I believe this guy Chen can give me an explanation." Allen smiled and said. And Ruosu curled her hair and said with some pride, "You don't have to doubt him, Paul. I say he is the best player, he is the best player." Jenny and Chen Jia on the side both supported their foreheads and smiled bitterly. Good guy. It turns out that Chen Chuan's arrogance is inherited from his mother. Soon. The initial list also appears on the screen. Trail Blazers. Rasheed Wallace, Bunch Wells, Derek Anderson, Scottie Pippen, Dale Davis. The Philadelphia 76ers started with 5 players. Allen Iverson, Keith Van Horn, Erickson, Kenny Thomas, and Derek Coleman. From the perspective of paper strength alone, it seems that there is not much difference between the two sides. Although the Trail Blazers cannot match Philadelphia in the backcourt, their frontcourt resources are still very abundant. However, Philadelphia's substitute depth should not be underestimated. And the Pioneers are a bit tight on their end. In addition, the overwhelming MVP calls at home have begun to change the mindset of the Trail Blazers players. Our own home fans cheer for our opponents. Among all the players on the field, only one has won the MVP. Iverson's sudden transformation from an away game to a home game is truly terrifying in terms of influence and popularity. D. With a whistle. Both sides are starting to jump ball. Major broadcasting rooms have also started to provide commentary. Ladies and gentlemen. The NBA regular season continues, with the Portland Trail Blazers home game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Official start. P.S. Striving to code words. Begging for flowers. Requesting tickets. Chapter 9. Everson Explodes. Halftime 31 points. Chen Chuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The first attack is the Trail Blazers' possession. Rasheed Wallace sinks on the flank, and he initiates the first attack. Oh, that's great. A false shake made Coleman lose his way north. Wallace managed to hit the penalty area with a sharp dunk. It seems that his physical condition is recovering well. In the past 7 games, the Trail Blazers have won 3 and lost 4. Although they have ended their losing streak, their opponents are all non-playoff teams. And their ranking is still not very secure. And their upcoming schedule will be the most challenging. TNT Kenny Smith said. Barkley said, "You're right." Although the new guard that the Trail Blazers had high hopes for was not on the starting lineup, he appeared on the team's roster. But we want to see him. Maybe we'll have to wait until the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. The Trail Blazers finally stabilized their record slightly, and the head coach probably didn't have the courage to hire new players so quickly. ESPN Bill Simmons. This American live broadcast has attracted too much attention. But obviously, none of them came for the Trail Blazers. Iverson has led the team to 3 consecutive defeats. He needs to end the streak, and the Trail Blazers in front of him are the opportunity. If we can't win this game, then the next 3 games will be increasingly difficult. The Trail Blazers also have a reason not to lose. Although they have stopped losing consecutively, the entire team is already in turmoil, which is an undeniable fact. It is understood that if the Trail Blazers cannot maintain a stable record and prevent management from seeing hope for the playoffs, then this team is likely to disband on the spot. Across the ocean. Huaxia TV is also broadcasting. With the development of network communication technology and the popularity of the NBA, as well as the grand occasion of 2 Chinese players landing in the NBA this year, the frequency of broadcasting NBA on Huaxia TV has begun to increase. Currently, we have 4 Chinese players playing in the NBA. Regardless of their background and resume, they all represent that China's influence has begun to expand into the sports field. Famous commentator, poet, Yu Jiaxiao said. Zhang Weiping. That's right, this is really lucky. The rise of our Chinese basketball is just around the corner. In the previous game, we explained the game between the Rockets and the Lakers. Our player Dayao scored a career high of 17 points against the Lakers led by Kobe. It has to be said that he has gradually adapted to the intensity of the NBA. And today's game is equally important. Young player Chen Chuan, who was banned after a game without playing in the draft, may face his first game of the season in this game. Yu Jia. Yes, this is the first Chinese player to enter the league as a defender. His physical fitness is explosive, he passes the ball freely, and he is the closest Asian player I have ever seen to black talent. I really look forward to his internal and external connections with players such as Dayao and Roughly. Yes, unfortunately, we didn't see this scene at the September World Championships last year because Chen Chuan was still rejected by the FIBA at that time. But we can imagine what the Olympics will be like 2 years later when we have so many players with NBA records. After experiencing some anxiety in the score on the field, it has been gradually pulled apart. Iverson's performance was impressive, following his previous game of making 6 out of 20 shots. In this game, his form improved and he made 5 out of 6 shots in the first quarter, efficiently scoring 13 points. In the second quarter of the game, Rasheed was taken by Chicks due to receiving 3 fouls too early. And Iverson took advantage of the situation to lead the team and widen the point difference. A groundbreaking pull rod and precise jump shot successfully widened the difference to 18 points. The final half of the game is over. Iverson efficiently scored 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, leading the team to expand the difference to 23 points. In the first half of the game, the 76ers did indeed show the intensity of the game, with full defense and efficient attack. Coach Larry Brown of the 76ers is notorious for being tough. Under his coaching, the 76ers seem to have become an iron barrel. Back then, he relied on a one-handed defense system to forcefully push out the strongest Everson. While achieving the top record in the Eastern Conference, it's okay to reach the NBA Finals with a tough finish. However, that lineup is still too extreme. Except for Iverson, almost all players are more defensive than attacking, which to some extent has contributed to Iverson's potential injuries. Therefore, this season, the Philadelphia side has also begun to shift towards a balanced offensive and defensive direction. However, the defensive foundation naturally remains. This game also reflects that they are not easy to make mistakes, and their tactical execution is also very clear. Like a well-trained army. The changing room at the end of the halftime. The Pioneers were a bit restless. Coach Chicks announced that Chen Chuan will replace Pippen and be included in the roster for the third quarter of the game. Regarding this, except for Pippen himself and Rashid, the others were somewhat dissatisfied. Among them, Randolph is the main one. Others may be somewhat wary of Chen Chuan's gun record. After all, a young prick may have some instability factors. They don't want to offend this guy and eat peanuts, even if it's a very small probability. But Randolph is not afraid. This guy's black history is much more evil than Chen Chuan's. Relying on the reputation of goodwill for his elder brother Pippen, Randolph said, "Yang, I hope your decision won't cause you to lose your job of supporting your family, my good coach." Before Chicks could speak, Chen Chuan smiled and said, "Zach, you better take care of yourself. I heard the team is already considering cutting you. Do you think there are other teams in the league willing to claim you? Only the Trail Blazers locker room is weird enough to accommodate you, and just you uneducated guy, what else can you do besides play? If you don't play basketball well, you might die on the street one day." Suddenly, everyone was stunned. Even Rashid dared not speak to Randolph like that. Is this kid so brave? The atmosphere in the changing room instantly froze to freezing point. Randolph's eyes were fierce as he was about to say something, but Chicks took the lead. "All right, guys, the second half of the game is about to start. Hurry up and get out." After walking out of the player tunnel, Chicks finally breathed a sigh of relief. He himself is also afraid that the changing room will start working directly. It will really be over then. The huge electronic sound system announced the start of the second half of the game. "Okay friends, welcome back. The second half of the game has started." Both players returned to the field, and there were no personnel adjustments for the 76ers team. On the Trail Blazers side. Wait. I saw a relatively unfamiliar figure. Number 16, it's him. This year's Trail Blazers' 9th draft guard is an Asian American player from the University of Arizona. Chen Chuan, deeply embroiled in the suspension controversy. He made an appearance. Chapter 10. Give back to others in the same way. Shakedown AI. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Player 16 appears. And also as a point guard. The Trail Blazers returned to attack and handed the ball directly to this unknown young man. Suddenly, the whole room boiled. Obviously, Portland fans are also concerned about this legendary delinquent boy. And Iverson's gaze also turned. He didn't pay much attention to this matter initially, but Chen Chuan was too arrogant to say that before the game. This inevitably makes Iverson a little less angry. After all, he is already a player who has won the MVP at this time. He feels that he deserves the respect of his younger generation. On the other hand, he naturally had a little appreciation in his heart. After all, the newly debuted self is synonymous with hip-hop, and labels such as being unscrupulous, promiscuous, and arrogant have all hit him. Until so many years had passed, he gradually began to restrain his sharpness, but the pride and unrestrained spirit in his bones still persisted. Kid, take it easy. That guy is also human, not a fierce beast. Looking at Chen Chuan who was staring at Iverson, Rashid smiled. At this point, Rashid's personality has actually become much more restrained, no longer the irritable old man who yells at the referee at a word of disagreement and averages 1 T per game. This is of course closely related to Pippin's guidance. According to Rashid himself later, Pippin, as the elder brother, did indeed help Rashid Wallace a lot after his own enlightenment. Gradually, he let go of his irritability and began to immerse himself in the field, which gradually evolved into a top power forward in the league. Although the identity of the Big Four may be taken away by Nowitzki many years later, the fact that this title was selected just 2 years ago is undeniable. Before 2004, he was one of the strongest 4 forwards in the league. Also the leader of the Pioneers at this time. Therefore, he naturally wanted to take more care of Chen Chuan, this little brother. When did you see me afraid of him? Hurry up and settle down, bro. Chen Chuan joked and then pointed in the direction. A seasoned and spicy style of control guards with the likes of Kid and KJ. This kid. Rashid shook his head, unsure of what would happen if Chicks had designated him to hold the ball. This offensive round is also a direct match between Everson and Chen Chuan. Iverson doesn't have to go against the opponent's strongest attacking point, so Philadelphia clearly sees Chen Chuan as a weak opponent on the offensive end. I think Iverson can save energy by guarding against this guy. And in the first round, Chen Chuan did indeed give them this illusion. After a simple dribbling breakthrough, the ball was passed from behind to Wallace on the flank. Wallace is a bit confused. This way of launching an attack is indeed a bit unique. However, he is still prepared. After all, he has played training matches with Chen Chuan before and knows that this guy has something to do. Schwa. Wallace hits steadily from medium range. Good ball. Wallace hit the first attack in the second half. This is a pass from Chen Chuan. This rookie with the ball delivered a backhand pass on his first attack. Although not as ingenious, it also shows that he has an agility different from the old-fashioned point guards, which is exactly what many people hope to see. Although Bill Simmons may be picky at times, he can still be considered honest. This ball is really fine. On Huaxia TV's side, Yu Jia also congratulated. It seems that Chen Chuan has a certain understanding with his teammates, and this goal is also quite graceful. At least it can prove that his current state is very relaxed. Don't always think about passing the ball, kid. Aren't you very arrogant? Are you just a jerk who only knows how to feed big guys? Iverson has already taken the lead in opening his mouth. He is definitely not a match for a gentleman on the field. Influenced by hip-hop elements and streetball culture, he knows better how to use trash talk to destroy opponents. Don't worry, Allen. I'm not Kobe or O'Neal, and this is not the playoffs where you were swept by gentlemen. Don't be so afraid of me. Chen Chuan smirked back at Iverson. This made the answer feel a wave of anger. In fact, even if others provoke him about this matter, he will definitely not get angry anymore. But if this inexperienced rookie in front of me dares to say so, it's simply seeking death. Next round. Iverson received the ball directly and used the ultimate change of direction to shake Chen Chuan open and enter the penalty area. Undoubtedly the pinnacle of AI, this explosive power is indeed fierce, and this crossover is truly amazing. Iverson, who entered the penalty area, faced Rashid's defense and dodged to the limit before pitching and hitting the board. Keep an eye on your little brother, I will devour him alive. After landing, Iverson said to Rashid. Hey. Fuck. Man. Dwarf, don't think I dare not kick your butt. Rashid is a hot-tempered and talkative person, but he is also a straightforward and loyal person. Seeing Iverson's arrogance, he said directly, Chen, you must teach him a good lesson. Not all MVPs are stronger than anyone else. This is also a satire that Iverson's MVP back then was actually intercepted by the media for Huaxia. Give me the ball. Chen Chuan calmed down, dribbled past half-court, and then looked coldly at Iverson. Perhaps you used to be the proud son of heaven, but now, it is the era of the Western Gun King. Originally, Chen Chuan's strengths were speed and explosiveness, but obtaining the Morant template further enhanced his speed and explosiveness. The data panel may not seem as explosive, but in fact, it is already at the level of the top guards in the league. Even though his mastery of direction change is not as exaggerated as Iverson's, his advantage in physique is enough for him to shake off Iverson's less strong defense. Chen Chuanmeng dribbled from the crotch, changing the ball from his left hand to his right hand and then instantly turning his hip to connect and change direction. Eye deception and shoulder shaking were all done to the extreme. This is a combination of Hardaway's change of direction and crossover, which requires higher explosive power but is easier to shake off defenders. And obviously, this time, Iverson, who was somewhat underestimated, was hit. At the moment when he felt that he was about to be deceived, Iverson desperately wanted to make amends. But this resulted in his body not keeping up with the brain's response. Simply put, it's just being shaken down. What? Including Iverson, everyone present didn't react. Chen Chuan flashed past Iverson with a swoosh. Then, facing the opponent's defensive defense from inside Van Horn, take off and glide from the left side of the basket. After flashing through the cover in the air, the whole person flew to the right side forcefully. Grab your stomach and give it a second push, then hit the ball in one go. A super glider bar that crosses the basket. Schwa. Go in. P.S. Find data. Ladies and gentlemen. The data is a bit poor, the little author has no confidence in his heart. The preliminary data for the new book is very important. Kneeling down for all the data. If you think this book is still eye-catching, please support the author. With motivation, the author updates more and more frequently.